Hey friends, so I'm going to share some changes that we've made over the past several weeks and months, and just kind of give an update. I shared at the beginning of January that we were changing some things, especially our math in particular, and so I wanted to give an official like what we really are using and what we're sticking with at least for the rest of this year. And then as far as like I added some new curriculum, a little bit of new curriculum, and I didn't want to wait till the end of the school year because that's, you know, from January to May is kind of a long gap to kind of not update anything, especially when I said we're making these changes. So first I'm going to talk about we have added into our morning time now, morning basket group subjects. That morning basket means something different for everybody. For us, it means like our group subjects that we do together. So Bible, science, and history. And then usually we will add a few extra things in there as well. And so what I have added, we have done some form of like poetry or character study, but nothing like really official. So I wanted, this is something I've been looking for several years, and I just came across it and I was so excited when I found it. I don't know why I have missed it before, I'm not sure, but it never was on my radar, but this is, I'm excited to add in. We just started it recently, and it is the Simply Charlotte Mason, the enrichment studies. So this is going to cover picture studies, poetry, Shakespeare, music study, nature study, hymn study, scripture memory, handicrafts, art instruction, habit training, foreign language, and literature, family read aloud. So that sounds like a lot. And we aren't doing every single thing in here. And the things we are doing, we're not even doing completely like by the book as indicated. This is just sort of a frame of reference. So this is what I was looking for was like Monday, do this, read this poem out of this poetry book, and then study this picture and read about this habit. And then Tuesday, it's going to be like go for a nature walk and do this handicraft. And Wednesday is going to be doing music composers by this artist. You're going to study this specific song. And so it's very specific and laid out. So I've been looking forward to that because I feel like I've just kind of been pulling things here and there. And I know many homeschoolers are great at that. I am not really good at that. It's just not a strength of mine, is like pulling different resources together randomly. I can do it, but it doesn't really like flow well. And so I like that this tells you exactly what to do. And there's everything on their website. You can, like everything they recommend in here, Simply Charlotte Mason produces. So like scripture memory, they have scripture memory cards. Art study, they have artist studies. Composer studies, they have a Shakespeare that you can get. They have a hymn book that you can get. So anything that you would need, they have it. But I had a lot of these things already, or was gonna kind of make my own, so to speak. And so I'll get into the more of detail later with all of that. Maybe I'll make like a whole video or kind of just do more in depth. Anyway, so that is that. I'm excited about that. It's a new, fresh incorporation, but it's nothing that we're bogging down. And the reason I started it this year, like at the end, the last like 12 weeks or so of the year, this is broken down into terms. So it's term 1 is 12 weeks, 2, 3, they're each 12 weeks long. And I wanted to add this because I wasn't sure. I know we're making a lot of changes for next year. We're gonna have a new baby. All of that is going, and I think it's gonna be, I just didn't want to add too much onto my plate that was new. I wanted to be familiar with something. So we're gonna do term 1 now, and get that done, and then do term 2 and 3 next year, and just kind of take our time with it. And like I said, I'll already be familiar with how it works, and it won't be something completely brand new. So really quick, I wanted to share this resource from Creative Fabrica. It is their all access subscription. It is $9 a month, and you get access to every single thing on their website. They have so many things that I want to show you really quick. First, they have fonts, many different types of fonts. They have graphics, and you can keep the graphics even if you decide to cancel the subscription. They also have things like adult coloring books. They have kids coloring books that you can print out. They have all different types that you can choose from, as you can see here. And they also have really cool things like teaching materials. Most of us are homeschool moms, so this is very similar to a teacher pay teacher. But again, you're not paying per individual piece or item. You are getting everything for free included in that $9. They also have different types of crafts that you can choose from, and a lot of them are theme-based, so Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, spring, and there's just all different types of ideas you can get from there that are included with this. And then this one is really cool. It is needlework. So there's embroidery, knitting, crochet, cross stitch, quilting patterns, sewing patterns, all for free. You can have access to all of these. And again, it's not 5 or 6. You have a bunch of different ones to choose from. And I think that that one's really fun, as well as the classes. So with the all access subscription, you have access to many different classes on quilting, Cricut, graphic design. This is a business class. They also have, this one is a Cricut class that you can see here for using the Cricut. They also have crocheting classes. My daughter's really interested in doing crocheting and needlework, so I think this would be really fun. And then they have what I think is one of the coolest things about this is called CF Spark. So they use AI, and you can create, if you're not super creative or artsy, but you would like to create things or have your children create them, they have text to image designs, so sketching, patterns, art, writing. You don't even have to be super talented or artistic to create really fun and cool images and digital creations. Again, and this would be really great for your children too. So anyway, here are some sewing classes, some different sewing options that I think is really fun, like bags and totes and just different things. There's so many classes for sewing. And again, it's just $9 a month. You can cancel at any time. You can look at my link below and I'll have more information, but you can do a 30-day trial for free, completely free, or 10 downloads, whichever one comes first. And if you love it, you can stick with it. If you don't love it, no obligation to consider. You can cancel at any time. All right, let's get back to the video. We have started a book club. And so we're going to a local book club once a week. We're really enjoying it. It's been really fun. Fun for my girls, really look forward to it. And you guys will be so proud of me. We're reading chapter books. Like, it's a miracle. You guys know that I am not the biggest chapter book lover, and it's really hard for me to like get into chapter book reading out loud. I've said this before, my girls all really love reading, and I will read picture books, and I think some people got confused because I've mentioned this before and they were very like offended, like, you don't read at all to your kids? And I'm like, no, I do. I read a lot, especially during morning time, many different types of literature I read. It's just I'm not a huge chapter book lover. But with all that to say, with the book club, we're reading the books. I will say they are short. Are they Charlotte Mason approved? No, probably not. But you know, it's time that we're spending together, and I guess, I don't know. We're going through, my girls love it. And so we're reading the books, the chapter books together. So like I said, we did book club, and then I have just found, since I quit my job back in October, I've always worked part-time since I've been homeschooling. It's our 5th year of homeschooling, and I've always worked part-time, 2 days per week, sometimes 3 days a week. And so I just felt like my days home, I just wanted to be home. I didn't want to be running all around. And we still had fun Fridays and things like that, but I just wasn't as consistent because I was just so drained, honestly. But now that I'm home more, I'm more, you know, my attention is just strictly not focused on, it's not split and divided. I can just focus on homeschool. We've been going out more and doing more things and getting more involved. And so I'm really liking it. And we've been really consistent with our fun Fridays, doing something. It doesn't have to cost money. It could be totally free, but we do something fun every week, at least once a week. And so we just finished our The Good and the Beautiful marine biology unit, and so we went to the aquarium. So we had a blast with that. That was so much fun. And then I randomly was like, I found these things my mother-in-law had given us from Michael's. It was like these little under the sea packet things, and it came with like letters and pictures and stuff. So I was like, girls, do you want to make a little board, like a little presentation? And they were so excited. They were like, yes, we do. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. I mean, it was just funny because I don't remember ever In fact, I vividly remember being like, ugh, a project, ugh. And so just dreading any sort of project. They were both so excited to do this. So I was just like, okay. They wanted it to be complete. They wanted to be completely independent. So I let them do everything on their own. I think I helped Lola glue a few things down, but otherwise they did everything. So this was Larissa's. She's never, like I said, I don't really require this type of thing. So this was hers. She just did her first little board and made all the little facts of the different zones and some different, like the fish and marine mammals and things like that, talking about coral. So, and then we did a presentation. We had dinner with my parents and she presented her little thing and it was so cute. And she had really retained a lot. So she's my older one. She's in 5th grade. And then my 1st grader, so she just glued everything down. There's not really rhyme or reason. But I feel like she did a good job. So there was it came with some stickers and it says God. And I was like, well, why does it say God? Like, I'm glad you said God, but why is that? And she goes, well, because God created everything. And I was like, okay. Then later on, I see Mom and Dad. I guess the D fell off. And then later she drew a horse, her on a horse. I'm not really sure she understood the assignment, but that's okay. She had fun and she was very proud of her work. And so, yeah, so that was fun. We're studying birds now. That will be our last unit that we study for this year. And Larissa's already excited, like, hey, when we're finished with birds, can I buy another one of these poster boards and do another presentation? I said, absolutely, of course. Like, I'm not going to tell you no. Of course we can do another presentation. So they're excited to do that. And then as far as their individual subjects, I'm definitely not going through all of that. I'm just going to give a brief update on things that have changed. So I said at the beginning of the year, my youngest Lola is in 1st grade and she started off with Abeka Language Arts. So she had done like the spelling and just their whole language arts program. But I really noticed right away it was going to be too much for her. So I stepped back with the spelling for sure. And then we kept going with the other components because I was just like, spelling, she doesn't really need this. She needs to learn how to read and incorporate those skills more than she needs to do random spelling exercises. So we put that on hold. And then she just a few weeks ago found her spelling book again. And my intuition was like, I feel like by January-ish, she will be ready to like pick up more, you know what I mean? And so, but in the meantime, we've already switched over to the Good and the Beautiful. I'll do a video on that as well about how we do the language arts and do a side-by-side comparison of Abeka and the Good and the Beautiful. Anyway, so she's doing the Good and the Beautiful for her language arts, but we're still incorporating aspects of Abeka, if that makes sense. And so she saw this and she was like, Mom, I really want to do spelling. I want to be just like Larissa, her older sister. I want to take spelling tests. So every day, for the past few weeks, so February-ish is when we started this again. And she's doing great with it. She's fine. It's not too much. Like I can see a vast difference between starting school in September to now. Hopefully you should, considering we're almost finished with the school year. But it is really funny to go back and like compare her work at the beginning and how much more she's capable of doing now. So we're just gonna, we were stopped at like lesson 4 or something when we stopped this. And so we're just gonna pick this up, finish this through the school year, and then take it into next school year. And then whenever she finishes this, you know, halfway through next year or whatever, we'll go on to some other spelling level 2 version of this. But she's been excited to do those. So that is something that we've added. She wanted to do it on her own. Okay, lastly, this is a math update. I have shared about how we switched from the new versions of the Good and the Beautiful. We have used the old versions, all of the old versions we've used and loved. But when I did level 1 this year with the new math, I noticed huge differences between the old math, which I really loved, and the new math, which not so much. And so if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it down below. But if you have, here's just an update to to what we're going to be using. So I had mentioned that I had narrowed it down between Apologia math and math with confidence, and the comment section of that was like overwhelming with, and I was just like, and if there's any other math, you know, and so I got a lot of feedback, but way overwhelming comments was math with confidence. Everybody was raving about it, loves it for the most part. Obviously, it's not going to work for everybody. So it still had gone back and forth. I really didn't know which one to choose. I was just like, oh, I don't know. I mentioned this before in another video of like how I choose curriculum. And one of my points was you have to look at not just individual curriculum, but you have to look at the whole child, and then all of your children together, like what are they all gonna be doing? And then what is your general season of life gonna be? So it's not so like individualized, you have to just look at the big picture. And I'm like, okay, the big picture, I am going to have a baby, a brand new baby next year. And I have not done this in 6 years, almost 7 years. There's a huge gap. My youngest is 6 years old. And I've never homeschooled with a newborn before. And we're already gonna be switching over different curriculum for next year. And if my middle daughter comes back and is not going to school next year, I have to add her in homeschooling 3 versus homeschooling 2 is a huge difference. And so I just have to factor in all those things. So I was like, what? I don't know, it just hit me one night. I was like, why don't I use it? And when I say it, I can just feel it already. Like, womp womp, that was a letdown, very anticlimactical. I apologize in advance, but what I am just going to do with her is go back to the old level of the good and the beautiful, the original ones. This is what we've used, what we've loved, what I fell in love with. And so we have done, there's 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. I ordered part 2. You can't even get it on their website anymore. You have to get it from like a Facebook group. So I ordered part 2 and we are doing that, and she loves it. She loves it and is learning a lot. I see light bulbs clicking that haven't gone off before. She's being challenged in a good way. It just feels so refreshing and just like, okay. So with that said, I am probably gonna just use level 2. I already have them. I got them a few years ago when I wasn't sure if I was gonna do the new version or stick with the old version. And thankfully, this is where my procrastination comes in. I was gonna sell my old level 2s, and then I just kept them for who knows what reason. Maybe I just never got around to selling them, but I'm glad I didn't, because I'm gonna just use them again for next year. I'm already familiar with the layout. I already have all the supplies. I know how to make it my own. I know how to I just am very, very familiar with this. And so it's not something that I had to get used to. And not that those other 2 programs, Apologia and Math with Confidence, weren't going to be great and amazing. And I'm sure I could get acclimated to those pretty quickly too, but I just know what I'm getting into with this. And so this was just something that I'm just like, one less decision for me to have to, you know, one less new curriculum to get used to, one less thing for me to figure out, and how can I make this my own. So that is my thoughts and rationale. I know it's pretty boring and safe, but I just have to, it's not flashy or sexy or new or anything. But it's old and tried and true, and it works. For my oldest daughter, she stopped with the Good and the Beautiful level 5. I have seen a lot of comments, not just like on my channel, but just like through Facebook groups and just different feedback. I don't know if it's like the jump from the old version level 4 to the new level 5, because that's what she did, old level 4 to new level 5. But I feel like even with kids who did the new level 4 to the new level 5, for some reason it seems to be a big jump. Now I know I can't say across the board for everybody, because there's some kids who are like 100% fine with it, but it seems the consensus, this one is pretty challenging and a lot of kids are struggling with it. Not to say you can't do it, not to say it doesn't work for a lot of people, but I think there's a lot of kids who are struggling with level 5 math. My daughter's always been pretty good at math, has always loved it, but there was frustrations this year. So anyway, we did try Math Mammoth. I had level 5 of Math Mammoth, and it was great. I really like the way that it broke things down, and the way it had them solving problems different ways. Like I really, really appreciated that. But it still wasn't what we needed. I don't know how to explain it, but if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. So I was looking and looking, and I came across, and this is nothing new or crazy or anything, but my friend Christy from These Little Sprouts is saying how her daughter is doing teaching textbooks and how much they love it and how refreshing it's been. And a light bulb went off. Again, it's funny how like these random little light bulbs will go off. I think it was the Lord, because I had been praying about this, honestly. And I think it was just like, sometimes he gives you peace. I checked into this. And again, I have heard of teaching textbooks for years, since the beginning. It's one of the first curriculums, math curriculums you hear of. And so there's a lot of, you'll get opinions from both sides. I've heard a lot of people who love it and it's worked really well. I've heard people who don't love it and thought it was not good at all. So whenever these, including me too, whenever there's any like opinions or people saying this didn't work or this did work, please just take that kind of with a grain of salt, because that's literally just their experience. Like that's my experience. That's their child. It's my child that I'm speaking about. It doesn't mean it's not good or won't work for other people. Or that it will work. Just if it works for us, it doesn't mean it won't work for you. Because I have been getting a lot of feedback like, well, you switch, so I'm gonna switch. And I'm like, don't make your decision based on me, please. If it works for you, please stick with it. That is never my intention, is to like completely veer people away from something that's working or that you think might work. So anyway, I'm saying all that to say, I checked into teaching textbooks and I just had to get what other people's opinions were out of my brain, like if it was behind or whatever. And yes, for sure, it is gentler. My daughter is in 5th grade. She's about to finish 5th grade. She tested into 7th grade. I did not want to put her in 7th grade math though, because after 7th grade it was pre-algebra. She starts half the year in 7th grade, and then she finishes in the middle of 6th grade. She'll be ready for pre-algebra by the middle of 6th grade. She's just not, she's good at math, she's strong at math. It's not like I'm holding her back and trying to keep her young or anything like that. If I felt she was, maturity level and everything ready for that, then yes, I would go for it. I just don't think she is. So we started her in level 6 and it's going well. It's it is easier right now. It is a review, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just going to really help cement like place value and fractions and decimals and all those things. I think it's really going to help cement that and help continue to build that foundation, so that when she does in a few years enter pre-algebra and algebra, she really has that. I don't want to push her ahead too far. It's kind of been a rough year. I just wanted her to have a little bit of a breather and math not to be something that was taking forever and just overwhelming. And so we have been doing that for a couple weeks now, and it's been really good so far. Will we do that forever? I have no idea. Like I really don't, but we're going to continue it for at least all of level 6, and then probably next year as well. And then we'll go from there. I really can't say I've learned not to, I have eaten crow that I will never say, we'll use this for the rest of our lives, because clearly that is not always the case. You never know. And while I don't like to hop from curriculum to curriculum, I want to stay consistent. If you're finding something that's just not working anymore, it could be working for a season, but it's just not anymore, you've grown out of it or it's outgrown you or whatever, then don't feel bad about making a switch, to find something that's going to be more beneficial and help your children, because that at the end of the day is what is most important. There is something to be said about sticking with curriculum consistently. I agree with that, but if it's just not the right fit, then, switch to something else that you think might be a little bit of a better option. And with that, there's no perfect curriculum out there. It's not going to be 100% hitting the nail on the head for every single thing, but as long as it's doing the general job of what you want it to do, then that's what our goal is. And so we're going to finish out this year strong. Looking forward to finishing the year and then taking a nice summer break, welcoming new baby, and then Whew, going full force into next year, you guys. I'm a little nervous, all right? I've never homeschooled with a newborn. You know, I know toddlers will be offered distractions because I've been there and I'm used to distractions and I'm used to being pulled all different directions when you homeschool multiple kids, especially multiple young children who need you for literally every subject. That's not it. It's the lack of sleep. I don't do well with lack of sleep and lack of just, yeah, that is my thing. Like when I can't sleep and I'm so tired, that's when I lose my motivation. So that is honestly, I'm a little nervous about that, but we'll be okay. We'll be all right. We'll power through. We'll get through somehow. Thank you so much for watching. If you are making any changes 3/4 of the way through the year or adding or getting rid of something, please let me know in the comments, and just know you are not alone. It's okay even at 3/4 of the way through the year. If you need to change something, go for it. No shame in that. So thank you so much. I appreciate you so much for being here. I truly, truly do. And I hope you have a good day. All right, bye-bye.